thing. Um, but we're here to talk about everything we possibly can. And so, with that in mind, we have made our way to Reddit. And we have some interesting topics for you today. One that covers uh, what feels like an important part of the awakening process, and then another that I I thought was interesting because of the verbiage used. This individual craves feminine energy, and so it's worth talking about. But before we get too deep on those topics, we have introductions like we do every single show. And so over here and on this screen, I'm Dahlia Rose. I am the founder of the Conduit School, and there I help students. I also help clients with healing sessions, tarot card readings, channeled messages, spiritual development of all kind, meditation. We love working with crystals and offer different services that pertain to those items as well. And with all of that, I am here to support people through their evolution, their change processes, and help them reconnect with themselves and find a sense of purpose and empowerment. And that is who I am and what I do. So,
Do you want to see my pencils? Okay. You can see
sure.
them now. Okay, can you read that?
Oh
Come
no.
on. Oh, come on. It says fucking brilliant.
Ah.
This one says fuck a doodle doo. This one says take note, bitches. And this one says write that shit down. So I'm Katrina Rasbold on the West Coast, and I am half of Crossroads Occult, and the other half is my wonderful husband, Eric Rasbold, and we've been working magic together for around 27 years now, and I have been in the magical community for around 40 or so years, 45 years, somewhere in between there. And what I do is I serve my community as a healer and professional witch. I do readings for people. I do spell work for people. I do cleansings for people. I've written a few books. You can go to Amazon.com and Google Katrina Rasbold. I'm literally the only one in there. Look at my author page. You'll see what's up. You can even more easily go to KatrinaRasbold.com, and that'll feature absolutely everything that I do and all access to me. I'm the editor of Green Egg Magazine, and I am thrilled to be here as a co-host with Dahlia for Crossroads of Cognizance. And today's broadcast is interesting. I feel like, Dahlia, that I tend to just rag on these people, and I feel bad for that. I do want to be supportive, but they just give me so much material to work with, and they leave a lot of vital information out that would allow me, hi, honey, that would allow me to feel more gracious to them if I had that information. So we're going to dive in, and you picked some really wonderful topics this week that are very evocative. That's a word, evocative.
Evocative. Yeah, okay. Okay. So I I'm stammering because I was like, which one did I say was? Oh, okay. We'll cover fat. So this first post struck me as interesting. It was the title is "I crave feminine energy," written under the spirituality Reddit. So I immediately honed in on it because I love the choice of words that people go after, and I always want to know why tell me more. And so I'll just read it for you all. So it says, I am a guy and I have this constant need to be around women. I am well aware that this is not sexual at all. I feel safe and warm around females that accept me. It's not about getting a partner or getting romance. I feel secure and cared for in their presence. But this only happens with women who are kind. I immediately feel repelled away when I sense some dominance in them. I also feel masculine. I'm sorry. I also fear masculine energy so much. I feel threatened in presence of a masculine figure. Does this have to do with childhood? I often, as a child, spent more time around females and felt threatened around males. Does this mean I lack feminine energy within myself? If so, how do I balance both masculine and feminine energy? Also, how do I feel safe and warm without hanging around females? Um, so the spiritual aspect of those questions was more towards the bottom. Admittedly, I got a little stuck at the top. Um, so this, th- I feel like I should just stick to the bottom questions because dissecting what was going on at the top is we'll get there.
Oh, I'm all over it. You just go right ahead.
If I was sitting with this individual, sitting in front of them, talking about masculine and feminine energy, it would feel important to educate them on what those energies actually are, and to remove the gendered labeling around them that he's feeling. So I would be talking to him about masculine energy being about action and doing things, and feminine energy being about receptivity. Nurturing's in there, but I am starting to move away from that as a mostly feminine energy. There's I don't know why. I just feel like in our evolutionary process, it's different, nurturing. So, in any case, I'd be educating on that point, and then from there, we'd be talking about that fear space and the security, because there's definitely a layer of insecurity going on, and then of course, everything has to do with childhood and attachment theory and many other psychological processes that happen during development. And then I would definitely be telling this individual, you don't lack feminine energy simply because you crave it from others. I have come across information that talks about some individuals aren't able to hold their own energy, and so they go out and they crave or they connect with others. And this seems to be somewhat of a different strain of individual from, say, like an energy vampire, but literally this person was born without the ability to hold their own energetic integrity. So no, I would say the first answer to that, do I lack feminine energy, would be a hard no. In fact, there's a clear call to connect with that feminine energy, which would probably answer the question, how do I balance both masculine and feminine energy and feel safe and warm without hanging around women? And that would be accessing those those feminine energies within, moving into more feminine practices. There are when I say feminine practices, I don't necessarily mean practices for women, but more receptive practices. So this may be an individual who, as a man, if they're identifying mostly with their masculine half, they're used to doing things and fixing and going after and taking action. I would be encouraging them to practice allowing things into their life, being receptive, working on instead of asking questions and intuition, just listening, because that's a very when it comes to the energetics of the feminine energetics, that's sort of being open and just being receptive instead of being like it has to be a particular way. I would be telling him to work on his receptivity. I would be telling him to slow down and to uh, look into places that he can soften, both physically, mentally. Spiritual softening might be further down the road since he's still trying to even understand what spiritual energy looks like. Um, and the safety piece, we'd be defining what safety is for him personally. That always feels like an important journey for everybody to take, and to take often, because it changes with your development. So this is not just about feeling safe and warm without hanging around women, but feeling safe and warm in order to exist, really. Because you can't always control the type of individual you're around. I mean, I thought it was interesting when he's like, I'm instantly repulsed by dominant energy. And some part of me, as I said that, was like, oh, is it because you want to be the dominant energy? I mean, it's very layered. It's very layered. As Katrina said, we don't get the whole story, but that's what I have for now. Katrina, what are your thoughts?
I think from a healing perspective and in all compassion, if a person, a client were to sit in front of me and relay to me exactly what you just read, my response from a healing perspective would be, why are you such a whiny little bitch? That's what it would be. Because holy shit, I am doing my best to be in a compassionate space with this, and it eludes me. And here's why. Like you, I mean, my first thought was, oh, just shut up. Now, that is not professional. I get that. But we're not in session right here. We're in conversation. And we don't have a client patient confidentiality issue going on here because this is already on Reddit and spread all over the internet. This person, in my opinion, has the potential to be in a borderline abusive capacity. So,
Fair.
what this person is, I feel, disguising as, I just crave female energy. I really just, first of all, what is their purpose in putting this out there? The questions that they're asking at the end are rather redundant based on some of the things they just stated. Do I need to get, does it mean I lack feminine energy? There's nothing in what was said prior to that that would lead to that question. So, like so many of our other, in my opinion anyway, like so many of our other Reddit considerations, I feel like that this is attention seeking. I think this is a person on one hand who is trying to distance himself in some way from toxic masculinity. They're trying to say, do you see how sensitive I am? Do you see how much I love women? I'm not they. I'm not those macho men. I'm not those arrogant men. I'm not those men who are doing your harm. You're doing your harm. I'm safe. I'm a warm, fuzzy place to be, provided you don't try to have any kind of dominance. So, am I still here? Because you froze up.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you are. Good.
Good, good, cool. Okay, my whole screen went solid. So, I have really terrible internet, and we're having some weather issues now, so I wasn't sure. Anyway, this person is very clear. They want no type of conflict. They want no type of confrontation. They're put off by male conflict or dominance. They are repulsed. That is a strong word. Repulsed by a strong female. That female's only role is to provide comfort to them. That's the place where they feel space is safe, is
Right.
if that person is providing comfort to them. So they are taking this female energy they claim to crave and therefore hopefully treasure, and turning it into that female bearing the entire burden of their comfort, their safety, their security. So they feel some kind of way. so that they can be cotton wrapped through this world and not have to ever experience male or female conflict to them. So I am perfectly happy to be their female conflict and to understand my words are repulsive to them. But there was so much about that post that was offensive to me as a female.
Mm.
And part of toxic masculinity is the resistance of a woman having any sense of empowerment. And this is sort of a passive aggressive and at one point aggressive resistance to a woman having any kind of empowerment.
Yeah.
And what they seem to be describing as feminine energy is just total, nonstop nurturing, loving, protecting, feeding, caring, mollycoddling, which is not the normal behavior of males or females.
Right. It's not
It's
gender.
the behavior of a dysfunctional person to only be on output all the time. And one of the things you hit on the nail so succinctly, I immediately, when I heard it, not when I read it, but when I heard you read it, thought vampire. And
Yeah.
in the negative way. Now, I have a friend who's a psychic vampire that I adore. It's all done within a consensual set of relationships.
Yeah.
It's very carefully monitored, a different thing. So I get upset when people use the term psychic vampires as only a negative thing because there's different types of practices. But this is somebody who is subversive about it and comes and pretends they're not doing exactly what they're doing.
Mm.
So again, I got to be bad cop on this and say I don't feel good about that. There's a whole lot of that. Now, granted, if you're in discourse with this person and you're talking to them, more things are going to come out, more healing opportunities will present, more ideas of where this came from. And you mentioned their past. This is somebody who there's no way these behaviors weren't created in their formative years. There's something there. But just based on what they chose to put out into the internet world, I'm not impressed. I'm not feeling it. I feel like that there's some real potential for abuse there. That's what I got.
It's interesting that you use the word abuse. I hadn't considered it. And yeah, I just hadn't considered it. I mean, whoever whoever entered into this whoever entered into a contract with this person, right? Because we all make commitments. Um, would really have to just be a constant giver, which would, I mean, even if you're built that way, it does wear you down. I mean, to me, this is a perfect example of a very unbalanced situation, and maybe somebody who, I mean, it's possible that there can be some healing work around traditional relationships and traditional dynamics. Um, so it's just it can definitely reek of abuse and of thought processes. I posted recently on Instagram. I saw somebody say that um, in when you find yourself disgusted. I'm trying to think of what I said. Hang on here. I want to get it. What you're attracted to while you're broken.
It was about yes.
Yeah. What you're attracted to while you're broken will disgust you when you heal. Um, and this kind of reads the same for me. I If you are entering into a healing situation, if you are trying to grow spiritually, and this was under spirituality, and the questions at the end lead me to two conclusions. Either one, they are trying to figure this out and are just really, really, really ignorant, or they are they know the right things to say and they know the right things to ask. They're starting to get into some of the spiritual lingo and they're trying to use that to their advantage. I do like to give people the benefit of the doubt. um but this reads the same. Like if he is repulsed by dominant energy, there's your work. Regardless of, did this happen in your childhood, or do you lack feminine energy? Put all that on the back burner. Where you are facing repulsion, disgust, avoidance, there is your homework. That's what I another thing that comes to mind.
I feel I feel very strongly, just intuitively, that I would really like to hear what he considers to be. And now he was very clear. He's repulsed by the first appearance of dominance. Does that mean somebody sets a boundary with him?
Oh, good
And that
point.
is then dominance. And so he's repulsed by anybody setting a boundary, or because boundary setting, and I speak of it often as an act of love, it also is a sovereignty move, which a lot of people see as dominance, trying to control your behavior. And that is the most common, I think, response to anyone setting even a healthy boundary. If
Mhm.
somebody's setting a healthy boundary, there's a pretty good chance the other person already feels a little bit sketchy about what that boundary is being set for, because most of the time when we're setting boundaries, it either has to do with conditioned triggers in us, which we
Mhm.
may need to address. Is it or is it not a reasonable response? We could also tailor that boundary to say, I need to have this boundary in place while I try to heal this.
Mm.
Or is it that you genuinely, like, I'm just going to say that we can never be around ducks, or something really, obscure, or is there really a situation where, hey, this is a reasonable boundary that I'm going to set here in terms of this behavior is not comfortable to me.
Mm.
So I know that sentence was all over the place, but my point is, a lot of times when somebody sets a boundary with you, part of the reason you respond defensively is you already know that you've been taking advantage of a situation, or you've been, encroaching on someone's um, comfort zone, and you don't want to hear about it. You don't want to deal with it. And so I'm wondering what that dominance looks like, because I don't think there are very many women, or quite honestly, a whole lot of men, that go from 0 to 100 on dominance. There are some who do. I mean, granted, I know that that's true. And because of the warrior spirit, there might be more men who do that. But I suspect that given the gender associations he has applied to behavior, that he just doesn't want anybody trying to enact any sort of sovereignty around him.
Mm. Yeah, that women who are kind piece. I mean, to me, it's kind to be honest with you if I tell you you need to fuck off, and that's the kindness line. And then if you continue,
Mhm.
then I stop being so kind. Um, so very
Right, because then it
interesting.
becomes, oh, shots fired.
Right. Did you have any further thoughts on that one, Katrina?
I hope I never meet this person.
Fair.
That's all.
Absolutely fair.
Now, that
Okay.
being the case, I mean, that the way that I respond to this might make people uncomfortable seeking me out as their healer, and I get that. I do have the capacity for compassion. I do have the capacity for holding space for people in all sorts of situations. And believe me, I've held space for people who had much bigger problems than this and were much more offensive than this. um, there is a place for compassion, and sometimes in healing there's a space for leading your client to a conclusion they need to draw about themselves.
Right.
And your ability to convey that to them in a compassionate way is important. When we are reading these Reddit things, we're seeing bullet points. We're seeing people are just thrown out there for consideration. We're not seeing the textured nuances that happen. We're not seeing the facial expressions. We're not seeing the tears. We're not seeing the fear that comes over them. They're not feeling their energy as much. And that makes a huge difference. When a client comes to me, I'm team client. I am there to secure their best outcome. In this case, I think the best outcome for this client would be to lead them to a space where they can confront whatever fear and whatever insecurity is causing them to believe that as a fully, in theory, functioning adult, they cannot manage confrontation with males or females. That's the end of mine.
Okay. And I'm siding with Bram here. So we love your candor.
Poor Bram. So, like I've mentioned several times, Bram has known me for a bazillion years, and maybe a bazillion 1 years. I was just going through old family pictures this week, and saw quite a few of them have Bram in them.
Oh,
And so poor Bram has been the subject of my candor more times than they probably do appreciate. But I love Bram, and yeah, I can have a poker face, but it's exhausting, so I usually don't.
Okay. Second situation came from the awakened part of Reddit. Not that part is awakened, but you're going through an awakening. Title: I feel like I have awakened. You okay?
Yeah, dropped pencil.
Okay. Okay.
I dropped my fuckadoodle-doo pencil.
That's the perfect
Sorry,
pencil to
I'm
drop
back.
too.
Awakened.
Okay. Was feeling very down, borderline depressed even for the last few weeks, but yesterday, after a lot of thinking without reaching conclusions, I feel like I have finally awakened. I don't feel like I should go with the mainstream as to how I'm supposed to act. I even feel like my social anxiety has disappeared. Of course, this is too early to tell, but I feel like I could just do about anything and find excitement in it. I'm no longer bound by my flawed body as I thought. It's just a body I happen to be experiencing life through. What really helped me break through is researching a little about ego death. I found the I, I found the following quote: "The more you learn about the ego, the more you realize that it cannot be believed. I feel like I really want to escape the rat race. I just don't care about anything anymore, and it somehow is very calming and exciting." Um, I liked this one, and yeah, have been there myself. I believe so. Obviously, there's not much advice to be given about this one. This was more of a sharing from someone, and it touched on a lot of things that I feel are important when you're going through your spiritual awakening process, to include the highs and lows of that experience. So the depth of a person's depressed state or heavy emotions, I love that this person didn't fall prey to, oh no, I've gotten off the path. I'm no longer awakened. They actually sat with the emotions, and somewhere in all of that there was clarity. And there seems to be for them a layer of mystery to the clarity. For me, it's very obvious where the clarity came in, and it was when they started to release the social constructs about how they should feel. And it was accepting their body, and um, the ability to find excitement in anything. My I can relate. Like my partner, there was a time in my life when I could definitely find, I'm a Virgo, I can find anything negative about anything. It's very glaringly obvious in this type of species. um and I'm often asked by my partner, like, "Are you bored?" And I'm like, "I don't get bored because I can find something about everything." We can go. I could go outside, a crow could fly past, and I could think about six different things that that crow is bringing me in that moment, if not just pure joy of watching it enjoy its life. Um, there is a freedom when you start to unlock what thoughts and feelings have been given to you, and it sounds like, and we don't really know this person, don't know gender, don't know anything about them other than this, what they've written. But it's it sounds like, in terms of their ego death quote, that they are literally shedding an aspect of their personality that they built to navigate the world. And in that process of shedding that personality, they're figuring out what belongs, what doesn't, and they're finding relief. The piece on escaping the rat race, I don't really know what to say about that. It doesn't feel like a negative sentence. At the same time, when I hear that sentence, um, I'm never really sure what to do with it. So I'll just leave that there. But I love that they're in this space of, like, not caring but also feeling excitement. Like, that to me is balance. It's allowing life to unfold in some very beautiful ways. And then, to me, the next stage after this is getting comfortable with, okay, not only am I allowing, not only am I calm and excited, the middle road is, I'm going to ask for certain things to happen and still allow and feel calm and excited, and so on and so forth. So I'm really happy for this person for where they are. I would want to know more about what they mean by rat race, because that feels like it has underpinnings of disdain for humanity. but but I may be reading too much into that sentence, so I'm gonna leave it alone. That's what happened. Your turn. Did we freeze again, Katrina?
Come on. Hold on. My internet's gone again.
We can still see and
Okay.
hear.
I think it's back.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
been waving. It's been waving and coming back. And I apologize for my weird internet. So is it my turn? I don't even know.
Yes,
I couldn't hear.
yes, yes. You are a go. Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to start talking and we're going to hope some of this comes through. So
Oh,
I
that's
feel
true.
better about this one than I did the other one.
That's true.
Um, I also picked up on it's almost felt like the comment about the rat race was just thrown in there.
Mm,
It felt incongruent from the rest of the post for me. I automatically have a knee jerk reaction to comments like that because wow, wouldn't we all just love to be out of the rat race? I mean, wouldn't we all like to not have to be on the wheel to pay for our housing and pay for our medical and pay for our food and it would be great to, live on the Starship Enterprise and not have to deal with any of that. A capitalistic society is really hard and it's especially hard right now and it's not getting easier. And so that's a really common thread of discontent with my clients, with my kids, with the people I know around me. Another thing I'd point out, we'll start at the very top. One of the things they say right off the bat that impressed me that I don't see this sort of awareness very often is that they got this awakening yesterday and almost immediately said it may be too early. And
hmm
I love that sort of disclaimer of, look, I get that this is a moment. I don't know how life changing this might be for me. But you know what? I'm in my moment right now and I'm going to share it on Reddit. And I think that's great. I think that this person gave themselves permission to step out of the societal constraints and the societal expectations that might have been groomed into them for most of their life. And I think that that's wonderful and beautiful to see. I think that ego death is a really popular buzzword right now, and a lot, granted, ego is not new. That was the ego and the id, of course, were the Freudian concepts that were so vital to the direction that psychology took at that point. But what has become of this is this idea. And when I took training in Brujeria, the discussion that ego was rampant. It was a really big thing. And I think that a lot of people use that concept of ego as a way to externalize and distance themselves from maybe parts of themselves they don't like, or parts of themselves that are challenging for them. They can just say that's an ego response, or that's something related to my ego, and they see it as ego's bad, so I'm going to distance myself from that. Whereas ego and that sense of self that ego brings is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily something you should kill off, but it's something that should be integrated in a healthy way. And when we recognize that we are approaching something from a position of ego, we need to evaluate whether or not that's a healthy response. And admittedly, like most first and second chakra responses, it's not always a healthy response. And so we need to look at what instead of just saying ego death and killing off the ego, we need to look at what is the ego telling me right now. And the ego is a great mirror to point out where we need to put on more makeup, or where we need to spiritual makeup, where do we need to tend to in order to present our best selves, and even our best selves to ourselves. But I always see ego as a mirror. I'm a little doubtful about the phrase that I don't really care about anything anymore. That almost feels like a disconnect. I mean, we need to connect. We need to care about some things in order to justify being here and taking up space at all. I mean, caring about something is connecting. And if we're saying I don't care about the things that a lot of people care about, that's a different kind of not caring. Whether than I think what they actually said is I don't care about anything. Was that correct?
That is correct.
I don't even know, but I'm frozen again. So.
Well, so it's funny you bring that part up, because with the disconnect piece, I almost feel like there's a layer here of being afraid of reconnecting, like they've just dealt with whatever they've shed that was given to them by other people, and now it's like I just need some space. Like I don't want to have to care, like decision fatigue or like compassion fatigue or something along those lines. In that space of not caring, I feel like that's maybe under the surface of the not caring piece. So I, like you, hope they do get back to caring, as that can be a spectrum too. You can definitely, I call it cave time, and where everybody gets tuned out and you just recharge.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still frozen? Or are we still frozen?
Nothing's happening on my end. I mean, I've just got this blank screen. I don't know if you're talking or not. If I am, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm just going to say that the feeling of disconnect it really is lovely when you give yourself permission to, I don't have to feel emotionally invested in whether I get a promotion. I don't have to feel emotionally invested in Oh, thanks. Okay. I don't have to feel emotionally invested in what this person thinks or that person thinks. I mean, it is a wonderful sense of freedom. It's a lovely place to just cut the ties and say, I'm my own person. I'm doing me, and I'm happy and flourishing in that. Now, that can be life changing. That can be something that puts you on a completely different trajectory that's exciting and lifelong. And it almost gets to a place where when you do get into a situation where you have to consider somebody else's opinion, it feels, I'm going to use the first guy's term, repulsive. Like, what? I've got to, what? Because you've become so, firm in your own sovereignty. You've become so accustomed to your feelings and your thoughts that, sometimes it gets difficult to reintegrate when you do have to. And I think honoring and finding that fluidity is it's a really lovely place to be. And so I'm excited for this person. I'm excited for the approach that they're taking. um you know it just feels like they came at it in a healthy way, in a, hey, this is great, I'm gonna fuck around and find out, I'm gonna see what, where this takes me. And I just think it's great. I really don't have anything, I don't want to say negative, but contra or concerning to direct to this person. I would just be their big cheering section, and want to explore more fully with them how they can actualize or um, magnify this in their own lives, so that so they're able to be the best them they can be, and that would be the them that they admire and want to be like.
So for me, this feels like such a healthy approach to their spiritual journey. This to me feels like the beginnings of
Mm.
someone who would make a great teacher down the road, as long as they continue to take that sort of
Yeah.
slow, steady approach to their process. I mean, uh, I would want to, the only thing, like Katrina, I don't have any negative notes on this one. The only additional things I'd be offering is maybe some gentle awareness around what they went through, and then what their what their door out was. Was it just getting more sleep? Was it hydrating? Not that these questions would sort anything out, but one thing I do like to do with my clients is build a toolbox that can be revisited um, anytime that they have any kind of shifting, or any kind of unbalancing moment. I myself, on this past Sunday, Monday timeframe, became completely dysregulated and unbalanced, and had to go through my toolbox, and a lot of my tools weren't working. And so from there, I found myself completely twisted and wrapped up in my own skin. And the only thing that could get through on the other side of that, or well, during that, the only thing that could get through was go to Great Falls, which is like a waterfall park near the location I was at. So put on shoes, went, and it was basically empty. And just arriving to the gate, I could feel my body loosening up, and I could feel from there uh, my body beginning to soften. And then in response to that, I became tired, and I knew at that point I was really starting to, my nervous system was finally starting to let go, because it was like a dog that wouldn't release something. It was just holding very tightly, and so I started to fall asleep. Safely got parked and fell asleep in the park for about 3 hours. And then when I came to, I went for a walk. And continued to explore what had just happened and what I had come through on the other side of. And so between me and this individual, I guess why I'm sharing all of this is because there's opportunity here where this person talks about been going through this process for the last several weeks, the last few weeks, few to several, and then from that time frame, they arrived at their open door to be able to be on the other side of what's happening as you go along on your journey. Because for me, the idea of being able to change my situation in a matter of hours or to go through a healing process in a matter of hours did not arrive for me until years and years after I started this process, this healing process. And to say that, God, it's 2024. Um, so it's been 12 years. And so it takes time. And much
Wow.
like Katrina was saying, I love that this person was like, well, this is where I am today, and I recognize the beauty of it, but it may not be here long. For me, I'm grateful that for those long periods and for the quickness that we can move through things, and even in the fact that I've been doing this a long time, sometimes it does take weeks still. Um, so I
Hmm.
love the opportunity here for the spectrum of healing to take place and what could be recognized in this moment. So.
I agree. For those of us that have really been at rock bottom and then just kept on digging further and further down as far as we could go, um, what becomes valuable in our awakening and in our actualizing is the establishment of higher baselines.
Mhm,
And so, even though we get to a place where we might have a tough month or a tough year or a tough day or whatever it might be, we recognize that our drop down is not as far as it has been in the past, and that
mhm,
we have tools to manage the different things that come up. Hopefully, we have um, support around us and people we can reach out to say, you know what, I've tried this and this and this, it's not working. Sometimes the people that know you best are the ones who can say, I didn't hear you mention this. Did you try this?
mhm,
Or have you talked to so and so? Or, you know what, I remember a couple years ago when you read this book and it was meaningful to you, and that just came into my mind, so it might be important. And so being able to reflect that back to somebody helps not only recognize your growth, but to get outside eyes on the situation. But I really think those baselines of wellness are so important. And the demarcation gets higher and higher and higher as you heal more and more, as you become more and more awakened, for lack of a other corny term to use. But as we become more ourselves and more healed from different things we've experienced, when we do fall, it's remarkable because it's a contrast to our usual happy, stable self. But rarely is it all the way down to where we've been in the past. And to me, that's the true demarcation of success on our path, is where we fall to when we do fall. And if we didn't do that, if we always lived this healthy, happy, balanced life, I don't think we would have the opportunity to appreciate that contrast
mhm,
nearly as much as we do. When we do fall down and, you know what, this is forever. It's like being depressed. When you are deep in a depression, you get the idea of depression, and this is going to be terrible. I might as well just end it. This is so bad. But when you have dealt with depression repeatedly over and over, you get to a place where you start to understand this is temporary. I am going to come out of this. This is chemical. This is a thing that happens to me. I need everybody around me to be compassionate and loving. I'm going to do my best not to eat your heads off during this time. Uh, give me cookies and put me in a room with a binky and a remote control and let me just work on this. That's part of our toolbox. Those are the things we begin to, work with. And so we begin and that's what they mean by getting to know your demons and making friends with your demons, is that you start to find what's in the toolbox that can help you, and you start to understand this isn't forever. This isn't everything. This is part of my path. And it's probably going to teach me something about myself. It's going to take me to a next level for that baseline.
100%. I love that. So this is probably the first Reddit story that where it's like, oh, okay, good. You're on the right path. Um, this person seems like they're doing a great job, and I wouldn't necessarily be telling them to do otherwise, and I wouldn't even be telling them. I hope that you don't fall from your happy place. I would just be trying to highlight the empower the parts that navigated through and that now they are able to do it again. Just as Katrina was saying, you now have uh, cleared this Super Mario level of life, and now if you have to go back and do it, you'll be able to do it again. So
Yep.
um, yeah,
Well, and
that's
that's the thing, isn't it, Dahlia? I mean, you're not going to have a life that's free of conflict. You're not
no.
going to have a life that's free of challenges. You're not going to have a life where everything goes exactly the way you want it all the time, no matter how actualized you are. And it isn't as though you get so precious that the least little thing breaks you and sends you into the spiral of depression because you forgot to pay the electric bill or something. It's more that you begin to understand cycles, and you begin to know this is normal. This is the balance to all that joy and happiness, is that very occasionally we're going to have to fine tune. And so we just look at it as, when we have that valley of the shadow, just looking at it and saying, there's something here. There's something I'm needing to tune up. This is showing me something about myself that I need to tweak just a little bit. What's that going to be? And just making it not a puzzle to solve, because that can make you anxious, but just making it something that's happening for you rather than something that's happening to you.
Yes, I love that. This is something that's happening for you, not to you. That perspective can change everything. And the moment that you apply it to suffering, uh, you can start to see opportunities, or at least you can feel like, you know what, the opportunities will reveal themselves soon. So on that note, you all, what do you guys think about these stories? Do you have thoughts? Do you have similar experiences? Do you have questions? And with that, uh, keep those comments coming. We'll see them. If you guys are finding stories or want to share your own, we are on here availing ourselves to such things and allowing our experiences to give tools that we hope will be helpful to you. But with all of that, we have arrived at the end of our time together. So, as we do every week, we will bid you all a great rest of your week, and we will catch you next time on Crossroads of Cognizance. Bye, everybody.